Hi, everyone. This is Nora Armani. We are on the 13th edition of our film festival, the Socially Relevant Film Festival. And this is the fourth of 10 broadcasts live with filmmakers who are part of our annual selection this year. I mistakenly called last session as the fourth, although it was only the third. And this one is the fourth section. After the interviews are finished and when we go offline, I think give it an hour or two. I think it doesn't do it immediately. The broadcast will be available on our YouTube channel, and it will be also broadcast simultaneously on our Facebook page. During the broadcast, if friends and family or whoever is following you is watching, they are more than welcome to put in the comment section their questions, and then whoever it is addressed to will answer them. All right, so without further ado, let me go and bring in our wonderful filmmakers today. Today's filmmakers are all in one of the short film selections, short film blocks, what we call them. A block is a bunch of short films that screen together in the same film session. And today's session is called Race, Religion, and Exile. So the films we are going to see mostly deal with that. We are missing the person with the religion, but oh no, we have one person with the spirituality and religion. We have the exile. We have, yeah, everything is here. Okay, here we are, our wonderful filmmakers. So we are going to take a turn. Next to me is Jean-Claude, even though they say ladies first, but we are in a female equality period. So we're just going to go with whoever is right to me or next to me. Jean-Claude, and then Narek, and then Eleanor, and Hassan, and last but not least, Josephine. Tell us a little bit about who you are and the title of your film, which we already can see in your name, and what it is about.
Hi everyone, I'm Jean-Claude Chincheré, the Italian director of Beirut Addio singing Under the Bombs. Et je vais parler en français. Je sais que j'ai la traduction simultanée, donc avec.
Bon, ce n'est pas tout à fait simultané, mais bon, tu dois me laisser.
On va essayer. Ok. Et c'est un film à propos d'un fameux chanteur italien, Joe Di Berio, qui a vécu la guerre civile au Liban. Et donc, c'est son histoire, une grande histoire particulière de sa vie qu'il a vécu au Liban avant et après la guerre civile.
The film is about Joe Liberio, who is an Italian singer, and he was living in Lebanon during the Civil War. And the film is about his life there before, during, and after the Lebanese Civil War. Okay, we have Narek next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Narek. I'm from Armenia. And I'm pleased to take part in this film festival. On behalf of the entire creative team of our film, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to the festival organizations and represented by you, Miss. And I'm sorry for my English. And to express my thought more clearly, I will have to continue speak in Armenian. Իմ ֆիլմը, որ կոչվում է Լռություն, պատմում է Սևանի Վազգենյան դպրոցում սովորող ճեմարանականների մասին, ովքեր թվում է թե կտրված են աշխարհից, սակայն հասարակությունից կտրվածությունը ինքնանպատակ չէ, այլ Աստծուն գտնելու մի ուրույն ճանապարհ, մի յուրահատուկ ճանապարհորդություն է.
Okay, my film is about the Vazgenian. It's not a monastery; it's a seminary on the shores of the beautiful Lake Sevan. Whoever hasn't been should go. It's a very inspirational space. And even though the general understanding is that these people are completely isolated from society, in reality, it's a nice space where they can meditate and live their spiritual lives. So that's what the film is about. Yes, then we have Eleanor.
Hello, I'm Eleanor and I'm a painter and film artist, and my film Imagine Landscapes is my first sight of Armenia, which is a place I always imagined but I'd never seen as someone who grew up in the UK with a curiosity about my Armenian family. And the film shows through a series of still camera shots, landscapes and medieval monasteries, alternatively experienced as both ancient spaces and as sites of modern conflict. So it explores cultural memory through landscape and examines our shifting ideas of homeland from the perspective of diaspora.
Wow, that is so nice. We have so many different things. We have the Exile Italian singer who already was in exile in Lebanon, and then he gets exiled again out of Lebanon when the war happens. And we have the spirituality in Armenia next to the beautiful Lake Sevan. And we have an imagined landscape from Eleanor, who went to Armenia and captured all these beautiful photographs and made a short film out of it. Alors, Hassan, tell us about your film.
Alors, attends. Vous m'entendez là, c'est bon?
Oui, c'est bon.
Vous m'entendez? Ouais, super. Moi, je suis Hassan Hamza, je suis réalisateur et scénariste parisien. Et voilà, je viens de faire un court-métrage sur les préjugés ethniques, raciaux. Voilà, avec une grande star. Je vous laisse deviner. Voilà.
I am Hassan Hamza, French filmmaker, and I made a short film which talks about racial prejudice and racism with a big star. He's joking because I am the star. With not alone, of course, it's me and this other person, Patrick Seminor, who was the winner of Best Actor last year in our film festival. So it was an incredible experience, and I play a terrible woman in it with a blonde wig. I play this very, very racist French woman and telling terrible things to this guy. This is not Africa, go back to Africa. And so on. It's like horrible, but you have to see it. Everybody, you have to see it. Then we have Josephine.
Hello. I believe my film is not really part of this block.
Yes,
it's my film is part of the disability block, I think. So the film is called Tapage. I'm a French director from Paris as well, and the film talks about. Tells the story of a teenager who learns that he will soon be deaf. And we follow him through the night after that he learns this important news. And we follow him through this difficult process for a night in Paris where he meets another guy, and you'll see what happens.
This is quite interesting, actually. Yes, I should have mentioned that these the 4 films are screening in the same block on a Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m., Sunday, March 15. But Josephine's film is screening in the disability block, which is on Friday, the 13th at 1 p.m. And the reason she's here is because she was not available on the day we did the disability series. So we were able to bring her in today. All right. So now that we get to hear everybody and we have, we know what your film is about, my question is, why did you want to make this film? What triggered you, because it's not easy to make films, and I keep saying it all the time when filmmakers come to our film festival, and of course at the end the jury decides who is the winner, who isn't the winner, and I keep saying completing a film in itself is being a winner, because it's so difficult, and especially with no funding, no means, no special equipment, no crew and cast and what have you, you're being able to make something out of nothing. So that in itself is a huge achievement. And we want to know, and of course, you cannot go through that very difficult stage of making the film and completing it if something strong is not triggering it in you. So I want to know, what was the trigger in each and every one of your stories? What made you decide, I am making this film come rain or shine? All right, I don't go again in order. Now anybody can jump in, whoever wants to jump in. Any takers? Shall I assign? All right, Jean-Claude. Oh, okay, Hassan, c'est toi.
Oui, en fait, ce que je vous demande, c'est pourquoi on a fait ce film, c'est ça? Pourquoi j'ai fait ce film?
C'était quoi en toi la force qui t'a fait, je dois absolument raconter cette histoire?
Alors, en fait, moi, ce film, il est né parce que j'ai vécu cette scène il y a très, très longtemps, où je marchais dans la rue, j'étais à Place de Clichy, je me rappelle, et j'avais repéré une fille, quoi, et je suis parti l'aborder, et pour lui dire, est-ce qu'on peut se parler? Et du coup, elle voulait pas, elle était très agressive, et ce qu'elle savait pas, c'est que moi, je faisais un casting sauvage. Voilà. Et du coup, voilà, elle a pas voulu me parler, et puis après elle a tenu des propos et tout ça. Bon, c'est pas grave, je suis parti, c'est dommage. Et mais finalement, j'ai fini par lui dire, en fait, je prépare un court-métrage, et je fais un casting sauvage, et là, elle a complètement changé. Et là, elle a commencé à sourire et tout ça, ça l'a détendu. Et en fait, voilà, je me suis inspiré de ça. C'est que voilà, voilà, pour faire le court-métrage sur les gens qui se connaissent pas, qui se parlent pas, et du coup, ils ont des préjugés. Voilà.
Right. That's interesting, because Hassan had lived this situation. In the film, let's tell them without telling very much. In the film, I played this racist woman who's sitting on a bench in a park and minding her own business, reading a book. And then this guy comes, he's African, and he starts talking to her and says, can we have a conversation? And she says, no, I'm busy. And goes, but I have something to tell you. Goes, no, go away. And then it becomes a little bit more impatient. And she says, if you don't leave me alone, I'm going to call the police, and so on. But we won't tell you the ending. So this is the situation. So I was asking Hassan what triggered the story in you. And he said that he was actually, it happened to him. He was walking in the street in Place Clichy, and then he saw this girl, and he thought, wow, she would be perfect for something that I'm casting, a film that I'm casting. And he approached her and wanted to talk to her and say, oh, you correspond very well to this character I need in my film. But she was very aggressive, and she said, no, leave me alone, and so on. But when she found out that it's about a casting, her mood completely changed, and she started smiling and being seductive and so on. So he came up with that idea, and basically that's what we portray in the film. Next, who wants to share their...
Tu m'avais appelé, donc je peux
Oui,
continuer.
alors oui, vas-y.
Et alors, l'idée de faire ce film, elle part de mon expérience, parce que ça fait presque 10 ans que je travaille entre l'Italie et le Liban. Et j'ai beaucoup travaillé sur des reportages photographiques et tout ça. Et je suis tombé comme ça par hasard sur l'histoire de ce chanteur dans un petit article de journal. Et j'ai lu l'histoire de ce chanteur italien très connu au Liban. Et c'était une chose qui m'a, comme ça, il a attiré un peu mon attention. Donc, j'ai pris le contact de Joe. Nora, si tu veux commencer avec ça.
Oui, actually, it's very interesting because my experience has shown when I'm doing these interviews that 99.9% of the time it's coming from a personal experience. That's why these films are so real and so true, and we really fall in love with them and we want to show them and share them with the audience. It's because they are so genuine. They come from a really felt and lived experience that the filmmaker has experienced. So Jean-Claude has been dividing his time between Italy and Beirut and Lebanon and traveling back and forth a lot and covering as a journalist or as a reporter a lot of films. And he found out about Joe and he wanted to go and interview him, find out more about him. So he contacted him, and that's how the initial trigger happened. Yes.
Exactly.
And Narek. Ոնց ստացեք այս ինչու ուզեցիք այս ֆիլմը սարքել։
Ես 2023 թվականին ընդունվեցի Ղազգենյան դպրանոց ու առաջին 1 տարին դպրանոցում անցկացնելու ուսանելու տարիներին այդ ամբողջ մթնոլորտը, այդ ատմոսֆերան հոգևոր, նաև ինչ որտեղ վանական միջավայրը հիշեցնող մթնոլորտը բավական հարազատ թվաց, հոգեհարազատ թվաց ինձ եւ շատ դեպքերում, քանի որ նաև առաջին իմ կրթությամբ ես կինոռեժիսոր եմ, 4 տարի սովորել եմ կինոռեժիսուրա, փորձում էի ամեն ինչ ինձ մոտ պատկերներով էր տպավորվում նախ եւ առաջ եւ փորձում էի այն ինչ որ զգացել եմ, ապրել եմ այդ 1 տարվա ընթացքում ճեմարանում, այդ մթնոլորտում կղզու, փորձում էի փոխանցել իմ ընկերներին, ճեմարանականներին, ինչու՞ չէ նաև դրսում ապրող մարդկանց, որ շատ հաճախ անտեղյակ են ճեմարանի մթնոլորտից կամ ճեմարան ասվածից առհասարակ, բայց զգում էի, որ խոսքերով այստեղի մթնոլորտը կատարյալ ձևով չեմ կարողանում փոխանցել, այսինքն իմ պատկերացրածի, իմ ապրածի մոտավոր 20%-ը կամ ավելի քիչ հասկանալի է դառնում մարդկանց։ Եվ դրա համար որոշեցի օգտագործել իմ առաջին մասնագիտական կրթությունը եւ իմ ընկերների ու մի շարք բարերարների օգնությամբ նկարահանել ֆիլմ եւ իմ ապրումները, իմ զգացողությունները փոխանցել մարդկանց տեսանելի, վիզուալ կերպով։
It's very interesting because Narek is telling us that he was originally his initial training, his education was a filmmaker, but then at some point he decided to go into a theological seminary and entered the seminary. And then when he discovered the spirituality and the whole atmosphere that reigns there, he felt like he wanted to share this and tell people what goes on behind those walls, because a lot of people don't know and are not familiar with it. And he felt that words were not the way in which he wanted to express this discovery. And it was more like images. So he wanted to put together his initial training as a filmmaker and talk about his seminary experience and share with the audience the life that goes on in the seminary. All right, next, Eleanor.
So I suppose I always knew that I wanted to go to Armenia, and I grew up in the UK with, stories of my family, and the film is called Imagined Landscapes because it was a imagined place in my mind, and I was very aware growing up also that the landscape that I was sort of nostalgic for didn't exist anymore, and it had shifted and changed with time. And so I really wanted to go back and film a sort of truthful first sight of this place through my eyes, sort of as it is now, and show that immediate reaction of, you know, all of the feeling that that landscape brings as a kind of returning to homeland, but also to sort of see it clearly as it is now. So that was where the film came from.
Yeah, it's again, you see, we keep going back to the personal and the really genuine and experienced, and that is the beauty of all these independent films that we are so proud and happy to be able to screen. And I keep saying this is a filmmakers film festival, because what is a film festival without filmmakers or without these wonderful films? And they are all springing from lived and experienced personal situations. And we have who else? Well, Josephine.
Moi.
So tell us why you wanted to tell this story.
Bon, moi, j'ai pas vécu cette histoire, pour le coup. Mais j'ai commencé à l'écrire pendant mon échange à New York, quand même. Et je pense qu'à ce moment-là, j'étais dans dans un autre pays, avec une autre langue, assez isolée au début. Je pense que ça m'a fait... J'écoutais beaucoup de musique aussi, ça a toujours été un lien avec ma famille. Et j'avais beaucoup de questionnements sur le fait de perdre un sens et le fait de perdre Louis, surtout. Et ça a toujours existé autour de moi aussi. Ma mère parle la langue des signes, elle travaillait avec des enfants sourds, donc c'est quelque chose qui existait toujours autour de moi et qui m'a toujours un peu questionnée et intriguée. Donc j'avais envie de réfléchir à ce que ça fait en fait, ce que ça peut faire comme choc d'apprendre qu'on va perdre un sens, et qu'est-ce que ça peut aussi faire comme travail sur le son, de perdre le sens de l'audition, et réfléchir à ça de manière, raconter une histoire au son aussi dans le film, ça m'intéressait beaucoup. Et après, l'autre partie, c'est aussi que je voulais me montrer à l'écran une histoire entre deux garçons, dans laquelle cette relation n'est pas un problème, n'est pas questionnée, il ne se passe pas quelque chose de négatif, c'est juste une rencontre, et montrer voilà, quelque chose de joli et pas problématique, quoi. Comme souvent dans les films, on parle de relations homosexuelles, on aborde des aspects problématiques. Je voulais pas que ce soit un sujet dans ce film-là, en tout cas.
It's very interesting because Josephine's film is not one that is lived personally in terms of, because the hero is the one who's losing their sense of their hearing, and then that's the main story. But Josephine has worked with deaf children, and that also, no, that's not what you said.
My mom.
Oh, your mom. Ok, ta maman. Ok, excuse-moi, je n'ai pas entendu cette partie. Her mom was working with deaf children, so the exposure to that kind of world. Also, very interesting point that you mentioned, in terms of when you were in New York, when she was in New York. Actually, I must say that Josephine came to the Socially Relevant Film Festival as an intern a few years ago, and we loved having her in the festival. And during that time, she is telling us now that she felt a little bit as the outsider, and kind of how do you blend into a space where of which the language you don't completely master, and how do you fit in and feel and so on. So it kind of is very allegoric, the situation of being deaf, because a deaf person is there, but the world is shut out to them. In a way, they are there, but they are not there, and they're not completely participating unless people around them are speaking sign language or something. So that experience, she wanted to transfer it to the film, where the hero is losing their hearing. But also there is a homosexual relationship that develops, but she also wanted to show the spontaneity and friendship side of that relationship, rather than every time when we talk about LGBTQ films or themes, it's always the problematic side of it that keeps coming up. So instead of focusing on the problem, she focused on the friendship that develops between these two young men. Okay, so we did the tour of the world in a way, because we not only spoke about different films, we also spoke in different languages. My next question is, how did you come to the Socially Relevant Film Festival? How did you find out about us? And what made you think that, oh, this is the festival I want to go to? Also, on this occasion, I always like to say it, just in case there are filmmakers out there who are hearing us and listening to the broadcast now or later when it's posted on our social media and our YouTube channel. It's very important for a filmmaker to make sure that they have found the correct festival that really corresponds to the type of films that they have made, to the type of stories they are telling. Because a lot of times we receive films that have nothing to do with social issues, which is what we are all about. They are full of violence, gratuitous violence, I should say, and we are completely against that. And I feel like, okay, this filmmaker didn't even read the guidelines of the festival, didn't bother to research a little bit to see what type of films we show. So it's very important not to just blindly go left and right and submit your film, but to find the festival that would really appreciate your type of film. That already is a very important starting point. So how did you each find about us? We like to know so we can develop that aspect a little bit more. Josephine, you have to be the first to say.
Je croyais que Hamza il voulait parler. So I did an internship like maybe 8 years ago. I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, I think, in the festival, and it was great, an amazing experience. It was my first time seeing what it's like, what a film festival is like. Donc c'était super. Et turns out that I made this film and that it fitted the themes of the festival, but it wasn't on purpose. But I thought about it and I was like, okay, like I think it can. Enfin, ça peut cocher plusieurs cases sur le handicap, sur la représentation LGBT aussi à l'écran. Et je me suis dit que c'était un bel endroit pour l'envoyer. Surtout qu'en plus, j'ai commencé à l'écrire à New York à cette période-là. Donc, c'est un assez beau retour.
So it was very meaningful to come full circle. You knew about the festival because you interned with us, and but that's not. And I should also say, from my point of view, that we didn't take the film because you were you had interned with us, but because it's a well-made film. And that's another thing that I want to say, because when we did the final selection and we automatically Film Freeway sends out a letter, which I kind of compose, saying, okay, dear filmmaker, thank you very much. Unfortunately, your film didn't fit in this time. And then I get a couple of filmmakers who write back saying, but my film is so socially relevant. And I go, it may be, but we cannot show everything we receive, first of all. I mean, I wish we could. It's not a month-long festival. It's only 1 week. And yes, we have the online section, but, it's only limited. And then it's not a matter of whether it's socially relevant. There are so many elements it needs to satisfy. First of all, it has to be a very good film, very well-made film. Second, it has to have a social issue at the core. It has to talk about a pressing social issue, preferably. And who is the audience for it? That's also a very important concern. And as some of you remember from the endless emails that I kept sending out, if a film cannot guarantee a core audience who will actually turn up and sit at the cinema, and we cannot give them a screening in the cinema. It's very difficult nowadays, especially in a place like New York, to attract an audience on a weekend when 10,000 things are going on, one more interesting than the other, that pull your audience left, right, and center. So if a film cannot guarantee that it will have an audience, we will be more than happy to show it online. So we are a hybrid festival, but it doesn't mean that it won't run in the competition. If it's selected, it is in the competition. So that's why we always like to find out how filmmakers find out about us. Who wants to go for this one again, or for the next? And Hassan, also, you can say that it's not the first time that you're coming.
Oui, ouais. Alors moi, j'ai découvert le festival en fait, par Lucie. Lucie qui travaillait au festival, c'était en 2016. Et en fait, elle est venue à Paris dans un hôtel et on a commencé à parler. Et, moi, j'étais à la réception, je travaillais à la réception. Et en fait, elle m'a dit voilà, qu'elle travaillait, elle habitait à New York et qu'elle travaillait dans le cinéma dans un festival. Voilà. C'est comme ça que je l'ai connue. Et après, voilà, j'ai contacté le festival, j'ai envoyé un court-métrage. Et, voilà, et ça, c'était il y a 10 ans, à peu près, 2016.
Yeah, already, huh? Well, Hassan found out about the festival through one of our team members, Lucie Tripon, and Lucie is in charge of the script writing competition right now. Besides the films, shorts, documentaries, and narrative features, we also have a section that deals with, henceforth, to this point, not produced feature-length scripts. There is a contest. People read the scripts and decide the finalists. And then Lucie organizes a reading with actors, about 10, 12 minutes each from each finalist script. And that way, the scriptwriter has a chance of hearing out loud their script. So Lucie is in charge of that. And she was in a hotel in Paris, and Hassan was working at the reception at the hotel. And she told him about the festival, and since then became friends and knew about the festival. All right, next. Jean-Claude, yeah.
Et moi, j'avais pas une grande expérience de festival en général parce que c'est mon premier court-métrage, mon premier documentaire. Donc, j'ai connu le festival à travers Rim Shehab. C'est une amie à moi, elle est libanaise, elle s'occupe du cinéma et elle est en train de m'aider un peu avec la distribution du film. Et voilà, elle m'a donné le contact, elle m'a dit selon moi ça peut marcher dans ce festival, et quand j'ai lu les rules et tout ça, j'ai dit on essaye. Et
yes, voilà. That's interesting because you see it's how everything is, one thing leads to another. So we are all in a profession where a lot of it depends on who you know. And it's not who you know in terms of the fact that because if you know the person, then they will pass you before. But it's like, learn about things, educate yourself, find out what's going on around. And this is very, very important. And Reem Shahab is a Lebanese producer who has brought to us another film, which is in the selection. It's called Together, and it's a feature film, documentary film about couples and about love or not love. It's all sorts of couples. It's couples who are together and couples who are falling apart. So it's very interesting. Okay, and I think, do you want to say, Narek, how you came to our festival, how you found out about it?
Փառատոնի մասին իմացել եմ իմ լավ դասախոսներից Մարո Փարյանի շնորհիվ, որ ում հետ ծանոթացել եմ 2020 թվականին մի շատ կարևոր կամավորական նախաձեռնության շրջանակներում Հայաստանում, եւ վերջերս ինքը իմանալով մեր նկարահանած ֆիլմի մասին, նաեւ դիտելով ֆիլմը, առաջարկեց, որ ֆիլմը ուղարկենք փառատոնին, որովհետեւ առաջին հայացքից թվում է թե հատկապես երեք կողմից այս շրջապատված կղզում, որ առանձնացած է հասարակությունից, սոցիումից, որևէ կապ չի կարող ունենալ սոցիալական ֆիլմերի հետ, սակայն իրականում հենց այս կղզուց դուրս եկող ապագա հոգևորականներն են, որ կազմում են ըստ իս հասարակության ամենակարևոր, այսպես ասած, համակարգի եկեղեցու առաջնորդները, քարոզիչները, ովքեր մեծ դեր ունեն հասարակության բարոյահոգեբանական կրթության եւ զարգացման գործում։
Nora, you have your mic off.
Oh, sorry. Oh, thank you. Narek found out about the festival through Maro Parian, who is a very good friend also of mine, and she is his professor at the college, at university where he was studying, and she teaches costume design and makeup and all that, and told him about the festival. And he felt, oh, maybe it's not so socially relevant because it's talking about people surrounded by four walls, but also it has the social aspect that it is about the people who will come out of this monastery, of this seminary, and go out in the world and spread the spirituality and the teachings of the spiritual lifestyle to the rest of the world. So in that sense, it was very interesting. And Eleanor?
Hi. So I made this film to be a part of a painting exhibition. And I showed, because I work with painting and film, and I showed this exhibition in Yerevan in Armenia and also in London. And then this film got picked up by the wonderful curators of the Armenian Film Festival, which was shown at the Institute of Contemporary Art, London in 2025. And this was when I was in conversation with Nora and told her about the film. And then I, in turn, researched the socially relevant film festival. And the festival seemed like an amazing fit to discuss diaspora perspective, because I hope that the film would invite the audience to reflect on their own and others' experience of migration and diaspora, which is something that I think is a universal thing we can all connect to, but especially in the UK, this kind of specific Armenia diaspora is an unusual topic to discuss, as there are so few Armenians here and it's so unknown. So this festival being in New York and being very international and being very open to these themes was very special.
Yeah, that's interesting that you are mentioning that they don't know much about Armenia or Armenians. And I had done an experiment when I was studying at the London School of Economics. I was like asking random people in the corridors at school two questions. Do you know anything about Armenia? Was the question. And then the second one, if not, would you go out of your way to find out about it? And, and 99.9% of the people were, no, I don't know anything. And no, I won't go out of my way to find. I was so broken with that discovery. And I'm telling you, this was many, many years ago. I am sure a lot has changed since, and a lot more people know about where Armenia is and what is Armenian and so on and so forth. Recently, there was a big exhibition at the British Museum about British Armenians, and it was a huge exhibit. And when I was living in London, I had done a screening of a couple of films at the British Library, and that was also quite an interesting experience. So things have changed since, and it's very interesting to use every opportunity to educate people about at least those who are right around us, not only about Armenian issues, but about everything. We're talking here about spirituality, exile, about disability, about racism, and so little is known about all these things in so many different circles. So by choosing to talk about these matters, I think our festival kind of takes a first step to enlighten, educate. And I personally have learned so much. Like in the last 13 years, we have screened 800 films from 40 countries, each and every one of which dealing with a particular social issue and social problem or human interest story. And it's unbelievable how much one learns by just watching these films. So everybody out there, just don't think that because it's socially relevant and talks about social problems, it's going to be a depressing film festival. It is not. We make sure that we put together films that have an uplifting part about them. It's not only, otherwise people will come out at the end of the weekend and go, let me jump off a cliff because the world is such a terrible place. So we don't want that to happen. Okay, my last round of question is, what is your next project? And if you don't want to talk about it, you can tell us what you had for breakfast instead, or where you're going to go when this is over, so whatever. But if you want to share an idea or an inkling of what it is that you're planning, we'd be more than happy to hear you.
Ben moi, c'est très simple, j'en ai pas pour l'instant, donc je laisse passer. Ben, pour l'instant, j'ai pas de projet, j'en ai plein, donc voilà, on va voir.
You don't have a particular project, but you have many projects. Yeah. I must say that Hassan's films, all of them, most of them, deal with very interesting stories about prejudice. A lot of it has to do with prejudice. The first one I remember that we brought to the film festival was very, very interesting. Again, it had to do with a casting director and so on. Remember that one? So it was very, yeah. Okay, who else wants to talk about their next project? Yep, Josephine.
Du coup, moi, je suis en train d'écrire un prochain court-métrage, parce que c'était mon premier court-métrage aussi, Tapage. Le second va être assez différent et va s'intéresser à suivre le développement de la sexualité d'une jeune fille à travers Internet. Voilà. Je n'en dis pas plus.
Very interesting, because internet has become a major part of our lives now. We can't live without it. I mean, I'm constantly, oh, what's going on? Let me see. So even like the mindless scrolling, from mindless scrolling to meaningful research, to meaningful readings, and the whole gamut between all of this. And there's no going back now, I guess. Next. It doesn't have to be a film. Maybe your next project, like in Eleanor's case, it could be a painting exhibit, which you're, I think, organizing these days, right?
Je suis là.
Oui.
Et l'idée, c'est de partir d'un reportage que j'ai fait en Syrie il y a 4 ans, l'histoire des sœurs qui travaillent dans l'hôpital français d'Aleppo. Et une histoire particulière d'une sœur italienne qui fait des œuvres d'art avec ce qui reste des bombes et munizioni, les choses qu'ils trouvent de la guerre civile qu'il y a en Syrie depuis plus que 10 ans. Elle trouve ces objets, elle est en train de faire des œuvres d'art avec ça. Et je trouve cette petite histoire aussi intéressante. J'ai fait un reportage photographique qu'il a tourné assez. Donc j'ai envie de refaire ça, mais avec un court-métrage. Donc l'histoire de cette sœur à Aleppo. en série.
It's very interesting. Found objects from the war, and she's putting them together as an artistic expression project. And it's a nun in the French hospital in Syria. And he wants to go back, Jean-Claude, to explore that and make a short film out of that. It's very interesting. It reminds me another short film we had a couple of years ago by a Greek performance artist and also a painter who lives still on a Greek island. And she made a performance piece from all the objects that she found on the beach that were polluting the sea, like a piece of plastic bottle, nets and things, whatever the sea washes out that are completely polluting the waters. She made them into art. And it's interesting. In your case, it's the war objects that are becoming art, repurposed. Yes. And who else? Eleanor or Narek?
Yeah.
Oui.
Laura, moi, je dois vous laisser, donc, ok? Je dois partir.
Ah, tu dois partir. OK, on va terminer
Oui,
dans
je
10
dois
minutes.
partir, oui.
Si tu peux pas, il n'y a pas de souci. OK.
Je suis désolé, ouais, il faut que
Hassan has to
Ok.
leave. He has an important meeting with a producer for his next project. So, bon,
Ouais, ben, bon, je vous dis
bye
bon
bye.
courage à tous et
everybody.
j'espère à bientôt. Ciao, ciao, salut.
Ciao. OK. Alors, who is next?
So yes, my next project is an exhibition at a gallery in London called Messams, and the title is We Are Our Mountains, and it discusses a lot of the same themes of this film that I'm showing at the socially relevant film festivals. So the role of landscape and architecture in cultural memory, and contemporary political narratives discussing land disputes, but also very much how we react to landscape sort of simultaneously. So how we paint the landscape around us in the moment that we are painting, but we also are painting from the past and memory, and this idea of simultaneous landscape that I'm showing through an installation of film, sound, and painting to kind of show the breadth of our experience, and I hope sort of more true to how we actually experience the world than a sort of one single narrative.
That is quite interesting because We Are Our Mountains is a very well-known Armenian film, the title of a very well-known Armenian film in which the Armenian spirit and how it's related to the mountains and so on. And it ties in with the Scottish spirit, which I think you have a Scottish grandmother, right? And the Highlands and Armenia and so on, and all these mountainous regions and how the human spirit feels free and up the mountains and so on. I would love to see it. I hope we can get to see your exhibit. And maybe you can make a documentary of the exhibit and bring it to the festival next year.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah. All right. And one more, Narek, next project. So I have a question for you. It's very intriguing to know, why did you decide to become a priest? I mean, you don't have to answer it if it's very personal.
Yes, Tapage ինստիտուտի երրորդ կուրսից շատ հետաքրքիր ստացվեց, երբ գիտեք, կորոնավիրուսը տարածվեց ու բոլորը ստիպված էինք երկար ժամանակ փակված մնալ տանը։ Այդ ընթացքում շատ տարված էի եւ գրականությամբ եւ հոգեվոր ֆիլմերով եւ շատ լավ ժամանակահատված էր ինձ համար բացահայտելու ոչ թե իմ նախասիրությունները, այլ իմ էությունը, թե ես ով եմ ուզում լինել կյանքում, այլ ոչ թե ինչով եմ ուզում զբաղվել կյանքում, որովհետեւ ինձ համար թերևս կինոռեժիսուրան կամ կինոն մասնագիտություն էր, սակայն ես հասկացա, որ հոգևորականությունը ինձ համար ոչ թե մասնագիտություն կամ հերթական ինչ որ պարզապես ոլորտ է, այլ կյանքի ձև, կյանքի ուղի։ Եվ ես հասկացա, որ ցանկանում եմ իմ կյանքի ոչ թե մի հատվածը պարզապես ապրել Աստծո ներկայության մեջ, կամ ոչ թե երբեմն գտնվել Աստծո ներկայության մեջ, այլ իմ կյանքի ամբողջ ընթացքը վայելել Աստծո ներկայությունը։ Եվ թերևս դրա լավագույն ճանապարհը սա էր։ Ձեր միկրոֆոնը։
I was asking if because I have this terrible cold and every now and then I'm blowing my nose, so I'm putting it off so not everybody can hear it, but then I forget. Narek is telling us, I was asking him a very personal question. What made you decide after learning how to make films, becoming a filmmaker, to decide to go and take up a spiritual life and become a priest and go to the seminary? And he explained that in the third year of his studies, coronavirus hit. And of course, we know the story with that. And everybody had to get into lockdown. And during lockdown, you have a lot of opportunity to think and ruminate and self-analyze and decide. And then he decided that filmmaking is a profession and it's part of your being, whereas when you become a priest, it's a lifestyle. It's how you live your entire life. And he decided that he doesn't want to be in God's presence only for limited periods of time, but to make that the main part of his life. So thank you. And next, who didn't answer this part? Everybody did? Okay, so, and we have a few minutes left, and I give a open mic to whoever wants to say anything about the world, themselves, the festival, being happy or unhappy, or whatever you want to talk about. Are you all coming to the festival? Let's see. Josephine won't be there. Eleanor, are you going to be able? Oh,
I'm not sure it will be possible.
You're not sure, yeah, because with your exhibit coming up, yeah.
Yes.
And Narek, how is it going?
Մենք դիմել ենք դեսպանատուն ու ունենք հնարավոր բոլոր միջոցները, սպասում ենք դեսպանատան պատասխանին։
Fingers crossed. They have applied for the visa and waiting to hear back. And Jean-Claude, will you be with us?
Je ne serai pas cette fois, mais avec le film des sœurs de Aleppo, peut-être.
Eh oui.
Promis.
Et vous êtes où maintenant? Let everybody say to us where they are joining in. I know Hassan was in Paris.
Et moi, j'habite en Vallée d'Aoste. Donc, entre Suisse, France et...
J'ai été à Val d'Aosta.
Ah, wow.
Il y a un bon jambon là-bas.
Oui, bien sûr. Oui, c'est vrai.
And he's from Val d'Aosta. And Narek is in Armenia. Eleanor is in
the UK. Yeah.
In the UK. And Josephine is in Paris. Great. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I think we're done. And I didn't show any banners. So in case somebody's wondering, let me show them the website, even though it's not difficult to find it nowadays. Everything is at our fingertips, but let's do that for a few minutes. So we used to have a lot of interesting early bird tickets, but they're gone now. A lot of it is gone. And we only have the regular tickets, but it's still cheaper to purchase it ahead of time. So make sure if you're coming, whoever is out there listening, to purchase your tickets before, not at the cinema, because then you'll save $5 with which you can get a coffee next door. Okay, thank you all very much. It's wonderful having you. And stay in touch with us. We love your films, and let's see what the jury will decide.
Thank you.
Merci, thank you.
Thank you so
Merci
much.
beaucoup.
Grazie mille. Nice to meet you.
Merci.